Sam and Nia Rader are popular YouTubers, and they were just featured on a Netflix documentary about Ashley Madison. That is that website that allows married people to pursue affairs. They are here to share their story today. And here's a little preview of that documentary, SOT 1.
I love being a dad. I love my wife. It was a beautiful marriage, but it's also just like monotonous. I remember seeing an advertisement, life is short, have an affair. I was like, that sounds intriguing.
Sam and Nia are here today to share everything they didn't get to say in this documentary, tell us the ways that they feel like Netflix did not portray them accurately, and also to share the redemption that they see God working in and through their lives. Without further ado, here they are. Sam and Nia, thanks so much for taking the time to join me. Can y'all tell us who you are and what you do? You can go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Nia.
I'm Sam. We're Sam and Nia.
Yeah, and we are parents to 4 little kiddos. We do YouTube and vlog our life and share what it looks like to live for the Lord as raising small children.
And have been for 10 years.
Yeah, for quite a while. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was watching this Ashley Madison documentary on Netflix. And so many people had told me, yeah, it's really interesting because a Christian couple is in it. And that alone just kind of caught my attention. I was like, okay, this is not typically something that I would watch, like a documentary about affairs. It just seemed sketchy and scandalous. But people are saying, you got to watch it. It's really interesting. I'm interested to see your commentary on it. And I was watching it. And then when you came on screen, I was like, why? And my husband said the same thing. We were like, why do we recognize his face? And then you came on screen and I was like, I definitely recognize them. There's some kind of like Christian couple that I've seen online and I could not pin it. I could not figure it out until Frozen started playing. And then I saw y'all in the car and the lip syncing video. I was like, that is where I know them. And I think I had seen y'all's Instagram before. And then when I went to your Instagram, and I was looking to see like if we have mutuals. I saw that you had messaged me before. I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So we know who the other one is. Maybe I can get them on the show to not just talk about that, but to talk about your story. And so that's why you're here. I do want to talk about that documentary, everything that led up to that. But first, I just kind of want to back up. And for everyone who didn't watch the documentary, they have no idea. How did y'all start doing what you do? How did y'all first go viral and all that?
Yeah, well, when the movie Disney Frozen came out, a lot of people got their start on YouTube, and we were one of them.
Yeah.
Anything anybody was posting related to Frozen was basically doing well. And Nia and I found ourselves in our car singing along to all the words with our daughter, who was 3 at the time.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, we're good at this. Let's film it. I was a wedding photographer. I had a really nice camera set up, and I threw my SLR on the dashboard and started filming us lip singing to the song.
And then it got how many views?
What's it at? Like, oh, dang it. I don't know. It got millions.
Tens of millions of
Yeah,
views.
tens of
It's a
millions,
lot
sorry.
of views. It's y'all lip syncing. It's super cute. And then y'all didn't do it full time though right away. Like you
No.
were still working full time. And then you had another video though that went viral when you told her that she was pregnant, right?
Yeah, right.
And that's kind of what launched the actual
I think so.
career of
It did,
vlogging,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well tell us a little bit about that because not everyone knows.
You want to tell them, babe?
I mean, sure. We had been trying to get pregnant for a while, over a year, and he was working nights, and I had texted him at night saying I'm a couple weeks late on my period, but I don't think anything, but just letting you know. And he, working as an ER nurse, had been kind of privy to telling women in the ER that they were pregnant before they knew. And so he, I guess, had this genius idea to test my pee, and and it all worked out. He came home. I had not flushed the toilet overnight. He got a specimen, did the little dropper, and just totally shocked me with it.
Oh my goodness. And that went super viral. And y'all had like news stations, media outlets trying to interview you. And that's when you decided, okay, you can quit your job and do this full time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so that was what year?
2015.
That was 2015.
Mhm.
And so tell us a little bit about what it looked like from there. How did y'all approach this whole family vlogging thing? It was newer then.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had already been vlogging for a year since that
Mhm.
point. But yeah, we started doing it full time after that, like you said. It was just filming our daily lives, just like doing home videos and inviting people into our home, showing them, hey, this is what we look like raising kids.
Yeah.
You know, this is what our relationships look like. And we also took them along to church with us. They would meet the people in our community, and the people who watched us knew our Christian community.
Yeah, I mean, everything, laundry, the grocery store, church, you know, all the little ins and outs of raising a family were just out there for people to come along with us.
Did you ever feel, I've always wondered this about family vloggers, or just like now it's more family influencers, they're just kind of posting on Instagram. Do you ever feel like when you're just doing mundane things or you're having normal everyday interactions with your children, like you find yourself thinking about how to turn it into content? Was that like ever a struggle that you couldn't just like enjoy being in the moment because everything turns into like a YouTube video?
It took a long time before I felt that way. I didn't feel that way for a while. I was just having so much fun.
Yeah.
We kind of grew up, I feel like our moms had like the big camcorders.
Yeah.
Those were popular when we were little. So we were like, I don't know, kind of used to, this is what you do with your family. You film it. We just happen to be posting it for people to see. Did you feel that way?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I still feel that pressure, of course.
Yeah.
But the moment I like let that pressure go is like when we actually start posting good vlogs, though. It's like people really just want to see the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
The people who don't have families, just having kids running around the house is really interesting and unique to them and unfamiliar.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely a lot of pressure just to make the mundane things interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you combat that? Because I think that would be a little bit of a hard struggle. I think I would feel a little guilty about that, not wanting to turn everything into like an opportunity for content, but also that's y'all's job.
Yeah.
And so how do you figure that out?
Well, we stopped posting less.
Yeah,
Stop posting as much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do post less. I think we balance each other
less than we
out.
used to.
Yeah, I think we balance each other out too. Like he is the creative eye and he can see like people will want to see this. This is drama. This is funny. This is that. And there's times where I'm like, well, this could be private. Let's just, you know, and sometimes we'll film something and it never sees the light of day. And sometimes we just decide like this is not something the kids will want to look back on.
Yeah.
You know, we just kind of talk and feel it out and see what feels natural in the moment.
Yeah.
We were also, I don't know, I would say somewhat immature and childish when we first got started. So it wasn't like we saw, oh, this is going to be unhealthy for our family.
Yeah, it took a
It was
while.
more like, hey, this is going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah.
And the internet's changed. I think that a
absolutely,
lot of people 10 years ago just didn't think about the potential harms of like who's online, the crazy people, the weirdos, and all of that. And I think people have gotten a lot more protective, rightfully so, of their kids, their experiences, their interactions, their images, because unfortunately, like people are just crazy out there. And y'all probably know that better than anyone at this point after the documentary. And so how do you decide, okay, what am I going to show of my kids? Because for me as a mom, it like that scares me, you know.
Yeah.
Some people, I think a lot of that fear is unfounded, to be honest.
You do?
Yeah. Like I've never felt like I've had anything to hide besides what we'll talk about soon. But I just feel like we're all living the same experience. Our kids all love to do the same things. They're all doing the same things. I don't know. I get that some people have those kind of fears, but I've seen my mom have similar fears, and I've never seen any of your fears actually come to fruition. So it's just like, I don't know how founded these fears are.
Okay, so you got approached by Netflix at some point, I'm guessing in the past couple years. Approached you about a documentary about Ashley Madison. Some people have no idea. Ashley Madison is a website for married people who wanted to have affairs. So tell us first how you got approached by Netflix, and then we'll kind of back up from there and talk about why they even approached you and why y'all were involved in the documentary. Did you get a phone call, an email? What was it?
We got an email. We actually got an email from a different production company before that, and thankfully we, just through prayer and discussions, we said no to that. And then the production company for the Netflix documentary came along, and so it was weird because the first one was like, whoa, what is this? We were so shocked and kind of excited and leery, but then a second one quickly came along, so we're like, okay, well, we've already kind of processed through like how big this could be, and just lots of prayer and conversations with our friends, family, community, and they just asked us if we would be willing to share our story. They did not tell us up front what the streaming service was, just that it was a well-known streaming service, and kind of kept some of that quiet. But we had a lot of preliminary discussions with them. We shared our whole entire story. I think it took 2 hours to lay it all out there and just, get comfortable, see if it was even a right fit. And from there, we just felt like the Lord was giving us like this call to share what he had done in our life, no matter how it might end up.
We didn't mind sharing our story.
Mm-hmm.
Our biggest concern was, will Netflix actually tell our story?
Mm-hmm.
Will redemption come across, and at the end, will the true story come through?
Yeah. Do you feel like it did?
For the most part. There were some things that were twisted that still bother me today. And in fact, I actually just yesterday saw another comment related to it, and it's just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
For the most part, yes, though. Overall, there's a few things, but
we'll get into that because I am interested to hear what you guys think could have been conveyed better, more accurately. But a lot of people haven't seen the documentary. They don't have Netflix. They have no idea what we're talking about. And so I would love for y'all to share your story here. If we could go back to how this all started. How did you get introduced to Ashley Madison?
Just sitting at work one night. I was an ER nurse working the night shift. Saw an ad on Yahoo News. The slogan is "Life is short, have an affair." Looked interesting, intriguing, as I put it in the documentary. But clicked it and signed up.
And how long had y'all been married at that point?
2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
You've been married 3 years. And so y'all are still kind of newlyweds at this point.
Yeah, we were.
But you already felt like in the documentary, or at least in the trailer for the documentary, you said that you felt like life was mundane. So do you feel like you were looking for, change to mix things up, to make things exciting?
Yeah, I was working as a nurse, and I had chosen the wrong path for me, for sure. It was definitely a ill-suited job for me. Profession. I spent 6 years trying to become a nurse, and I was working in the ER, just showing up night after night, just depressed, and telling myself, turn this car around, don't go back in another time, don't do it.
Just because it wasn't what you felt called to do, or what you were equipped to do? Just the wrong...
I'm a creative, and there's no room for creativity in the hospital. Not even in the ER. It's just strictly protocol and cover your butt, make sure you don't get a lawsuit. It's like, that's what they tell you before you go on your shift.
Right.
Protect yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, that's just part of the story. We got married. The novelty wore off. We had a child. She was pregnant again. No excuse. There's just a lot of things. Of course, I have some of my own personal issues. Mm-hmm. Just a lot of things led me to wanting other women's attention.
Quick pause to tell you about our first sponsor for the day. It's EveryLife. This is the only pro-life diaper company. You'd think that every diaper company would be pro-life. This is their customer base, but unfortunately they're not. And EveryLife ensures that their dollars are going towards pro-life organizations, pregnancy centers that are saving lives. They also make it as easy as possible for all of their employees to either adopt or have babies, take the time that they need to be with their families. They are truly holistically pro-life, and that's what I love about them. But I also just love their diapers. We use their diapers a lot in our home. They're made from premium ingredients that you can feel really good about. No leaks. No leaks. That's really important, even overnight. Go to everylife.com, use code Allie10. You'll get a 10% discount on your first order. Everylife.com, code Allie10. And you talk about in the documentary, Nia, how you were trying so hard to just like be the perfect wife. So in your mind at this time, 3 years into marriage, did you feel like things were monotonous, or did things still feel kind of like fun and new to you?
No, I think there was some monotony, but I kind of thrive on that. I like routine. I like schedules. And so I didn't think anything, this was like the dream for me.
Yeah.
To wake up and take care of a family every day. And so, no, I didn't, I mean, yes, I saw it, it was there, but it wasn't like a negative thing for me. And I did not put two and two together that it was negative for him until after the fact. Yeah, I thought things were good. We had a great relationship. You know, we still got along. We flirted. We were intimate. We had like, I guess, regular issues. It's not like we didn't have any issues or swept everything under the rug.
Right.
We just, you know, we still had a good relationship despite what he was doing behind my back.
Yeah. And you guys were Christians, right, at the beginning of your marriage. And so you knew when you were looking at Ashley Madison, you felt like this was sin, and you felt like, oh, I know I shouldn't do this. Was that your kind of thinking?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had done multiple things before this point. So this was kind of a slow fade into outright signing up for a site that says this is for having an affair.
And the infidelity predated Ashley Madison, correct?
Correct.
And when did that start within marriage?
It was definitely a slow fade. It's kind of hard to pinpoint when it started. I used to tell Nia a little bit of flirting is okay. I think maybe it started there. In nursing school, I was like, babe, it's just friendly play with the opposite sex. And I would even encourage her, what you don't know doesn't hurt. What I don't know doesn't hurt. I mean, a little bit's okay. I think it started with stupid thoughts like that. I would call myself a Christian, but definitely a lukewarm Christian, one step in, one foot in, one foot out.
Right. And that's how sin starts for everyone, that it's just like the innocent stuff first, and then you kind of just start getting callous towards sin in general. So when you made the next step to sign up for Ashley Madison, what did that look like?
What did the next step on Ashley Madison look like? Messaging women, trying to get their attention.
But it was mostly the attention that you felt like you were after.
It was, because once I never did meet with any women through Ashley Madison. But even when I did meet with other women outside of Ashley Madison, once I got their attention and the challenge was over, I was met with this new challenge that I was not even really thinking about or considering. Like, now what do I do? Like, this isn't me. Like, the chase was fun, but I don't really care to go much further than this. I don't know. This is all but just personal stuff. It was just a really stupid trying to discover, I guess, who I was and what life was. I was just so confused and all over the place, not really scripturally grounded at the time.
And you had no idea. You didn't have any indication that this was going on.
I would say like there were red flags and I had like suspicions. I would ask him certain things, but I convinced myself, and he convinced me too, that all of my suspicions were unfounded. And so I guess, yes, I was shocked, so shocked when he eventually confessed everything to me, but also a little bit of relief because I did have some suspicions. I had a feeling something was off and hidden.
Yeah. Y'all talk about in the documentary how things kind of blew up for y'all in, a positive way from y'all's perspective. Like when you started going viral, when you started vlogging, and then you started vlogging full time, that's when maybe the excitement of Ashley Madison started to wear off and you got off the site for a period of time, right?
It's funny you say that because that's where it was twisted in the documentary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had deleted Ashley Madison 4 months before YouTube even came along.
Okay, gotcha.
And I had not been straying outside my marriage at all. As far as how the public saw me, I was holding secrets, but I wasn't doing anything behind Nia's back. People think they were seeing two sides of me while watching YouTube, but it's not the case.
Okay. So you stopped all infidelity, including Ashley Madison, before YouTube. And what caused that? Like, was there a conviction, or why did you decide to stop?
Well, Ashley Madison completely failed me. It was just a full disappointment. That was part of it. And it was just
because you realized, oh, this attention isn't giving me the lasting satisfaction that I'm looking for?
Yeah, that, and women weren't responding. Like, as many women as were supposedly on there, none of them were giving me attention. So it was just like, okay, I guess, whatever. It was disappointing. But anyway, fast forward a month or so, we discovered a church. My mom found a church, and we got plugged into this amazing community. And I'm sitting in church one day with my family, and the sermon's just speaking to me, and I'm just like overwhelmed with conviction of all the stuff I've been doing behind Nia's back. And the pastor said, if anybody needs a prayer, if you feel like you're in a desert place and you want freedom from that or whatever, that's all in the book, the whole description. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he said, if you want prayer, go to the back of the church. And at the moment, I finally just surrendered my life to God, and I got up for an altar call, which is something I would have never done before. I felt God just completely got me out of my seat. Went past Nia, just basically confessing my weakness and me surrendering to God for like the first time in front of her like that. And I go to the back, and I'm just in tears, and the pastor says an amazing prayer over me. I tell him how much I hate my job, how I feel worthless as a father, as a husband, and life is just, I don't like life. I feel useless as a part of God's kingdom. And he says this amazing prayer over me, and I feel like it completely changed my life. I walked out of that building for the first time with like hope ahead of me. And then for a couple weeks after that prayer, YouTube came along, and I'm like, whoa, God answered my prayer real fast. Like, he gave me this creative outlet. That's what I was asking for. My creativity. I also felt like I wasn't doing anything for his kingdom, and I felt like immediately that this was going to be our ministry, to talk about God to the world. And that's immediately what I did. Even in the description of the frozen lip sync, I immediately put that we're Jesus followers. I put where we go to church and all this good stuff, because I was just so excited to finally be able to be doing something for the Lord. That's when my life turned around. So it started at church.
Right. Okay. So you had that conviction, and you realized all that stuff that you had been doing, infidelity, couldn't do it anymore. Did you feel at that point, I'm going to have to tell my wife?
At that point? No, I wasn't going to. I was at this, I was keeping all those secrets, to my grave. I was just like, Nia would never be able to handle this stuff. I'm locking it away, never to revisit again. A guy also came into my life at the time that was paramount, that I failed to mention. He just said, hey man, you want to go grab a cup of coffee? And for the first time in my life, a man asked me out for a cup of coffee. And I mean, my dad had done something like this. And so he sat down and really got to know me beneath the surface. And that was life-changing for me, that another man cared to know who I was. And so he discipled me, helped me become more like Jesus, helped me be a better dad, better husband. YouTube came along, and I decided all these secrets would go to my grave. I wasn't even going to tell him, my discipleship partner. I told him everything except that. And then we start vlogging, and I'm keeping all these secrets. And Ashley Madison came along, or the breach. And God's like, well, if you're not going to tell anybody, I'm going to tell everybody. He kind of started the process of setting me free.
Did you ever, before you found out about the breach, were there ever convictions like, oh, I need to say it, no, you can't say it. Oh, I need to say it, no, you can't say it. Or were you just steadily resolute, no, I am never, ever telling anyone?
The latter.
It didn't even feel really like a struggle. It was like, this is between me and God.
The only part that felt like a struggle was coming to the Lord, and like that coming between my relationship with him, like those secrets.
Right.
I was like, man, God, why can't we get past this together and it be behind us? And so there's not like this little thing between you and I, but it was always there, that darkness in me was always there in my relationship with him. With Nia, as far as I was concerned, thought I was protecting her of that dark side, and I didn't want my sins to spill over into her life
Right.
and to affect her. So
Yeah.
I was going to do everything I possibly could to protect her from it.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you didn't know what had happened with the infidelity, but did you notice a spiritual change in him after that Sunday?
Oh yeah, immediately.
And what were your thoughts?
As soon as we got in the car, I was just like, oh, I just thought this is what I've always wanted. This is the Sam I fell in love with. I mean, he was a Christian when I met him. We did Bible study together. We prayed together. I felt like I had gotten like my boyfriend back in a way. I mean, he was my husband. We had 2 kids at the time, but I was so excited. I was living for the Lord. I wasn't having the same side journey or whatever that he was doing, and I was just ready to put like all like, you know, both feet in, our whole family, and just like dive into church and community and living for the Lord, showing it to the public, all of it.
Okay, so you're just seeing this as this is just kind of an almost random, maybe not random, but in earthly speak, like a random providential moment of change for him, and everything is on a better path. You had no idea what was going on beneath the surface.
Yeah, I knew he had some depression, like with his job. He didn't like it. I knew how creative he was. I could see that being stifled. So it wasn't too random to me. I thought it was timely as far as the emotional side of it goes, or the mental side of it goes. And yeah, I was just excited to move forward. I was so excited.
Yeah. And so y'all saw YouTube as an answer to prayer, and obviously it provided a way out of your job, which, as you said, was really depressing you. And how long into the successful YouTube vlogging did y'all go to this conference in Seattle where you found out about the breach?
It was about 1.5 years.
Okay. So not very long at all.
No, not too long.
And at this point, y'all have how many subscribers and followers? Do you know?
I really don't remember.
800,000, 600,000.
A lot. A ton.
Yeah.
And definitely enough to go like speak at this event, right? As
featured, creators.
And so y'all are in the airport, and you said, did you find out, was it on Twitter, about the Ashley Madison breach?
Yes.
Okay. And for people who don't know, let me just explain this. There was a data breach for Ashley Madison where the names of the people who had signed up for these accounts trying to pursue adultery had been leaked. And when you found out about this, you were like, oh no, I wonder if my name is going to get out there. And it's interesting because if you hadn't had YouTube, I don't know if it, ever would have gone on to Twitter. It might have just been, brushed under the rug. So tell us about that. Tell us about searching Twitter frantically, trying to figure out if your name was a part of the leak.
It was maybe a day or two before going to the airport that day to go to Seattle for Vlogger Fair. And I'm searching Twitter. My brother's telling us about the Impact team, and they gave Ashley Madison 30 days to shut down and all this stuff. And he's like, well, it's time's up. They're about to release all the data.
Your brother was saying this?
My brother, yeah.
And why was he interested in that? Like, why was he saying that?
That's in the book, but he was just a news guy. He just updated family.
So it was just random.
It was random. He's definitely the family member that sends
the news
articles. Yeah.
Okay, so this,
He's the news guy.
What year was this?
2015.
Okay, I feel like I vaguely remember.
Something else big was going on at the time. I think maybe it kind of overshadowed some of it. I can't remember what it was.
Probably the election.
I was about to say, because it was the next
election.
year. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Maybe.
Okay, so you got that text, and I'm sure like your heart sank.
Yeah. Well, first I thought I had deleted the account, hard deleted it, and paid. I had remembered that, okay, I think pretty certain I paid extra to have my account hard deleted. And it had been so many years. At 2013, I deleted the account. This was 2015 when the dump came out. I was like, there's no way, like, my data from that long ago would still be in their database.
Which we found out in the documentary that even if you paid extra to have all of your data deleted, that they hung on to it. And it was just a scam, which is awful.
And they hung on to everybody's data from the beginning of time. So.
Yes, yeah.
So it was definitely a huge shocker. It was just from a very random account. And he's like, hey, am I the first one to scoop that Sam Rader was in the Ashley Madison breach? And I was just, wow.
Which means you had used your real first and last name when you signed up for an account.
I did.
Yeah. Did you just think that you would never get caught, or did it just not really cross your mind?
I was living so recklessly, like
Yeah.
so recklessly. Like that was nothing. People were so surprised by that, but I was very reckless with my life at the time, and I didn't care about a lot of stuff. Obviously, I was risking losing my entire family, my career,
Yeah.
not just on Ashley Madison, but other things.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're depressed, you're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, so you found that tweet, and then was it at that point that you realized, okay, I got to tell Nia? Or were you still hoping, okay, maybe this is not going to go viral. Maybe more people aren't going to pick it up.
Well, I knew right at that point I had to tell Nia. First, I thought my life was completely over, and all I had left on my side was Nia if she would forgive me for this stupid website. And so we're walking to a Chili's restaurant. I decide I have to tell Nia before her phone tells her herself. So we sit down and I just tell her about Ashley Madison, and that was it. There was nothing else. I never met with anybody. I had a few conversations, but that was it. It was just a curiosity. I had it for a couple weeks and deleted the account. Just minimized it as much as I possibly could so I could keep Nia on my side at that time when I knew the world was about to be against me.
And what was your reaction when you heard that?
Oh, I was so shocked and mad and embarrassed. I was just, there's a little twinge of relief because, like I said, I had some suspicions. So I was like, okay, this is what it was. I wasn't crazy, I guess. But overall, I was just so mad. Not just that he had tried to betray me, but just, I'm thankful that he used his information because now it's all out in the light. And if he hadn't, who knows? But I was just so embarrassed that he did that. We have a family, we had this career. I was so excited. I loved what we were doing, and like everything was at risk, not just the family. Really, that wasn't in my mind. I loved him. I knew I would forgive him, but just everything else that we were working towards and stuff that he would risk it for something so lame and dumb. I was just so annoyed and mad.
Okay, let me tell y'all about Freedom Project Academy. I don't have to explain the crazy left-wing indoctrination that is going on in public schools today. You already know about it, and you're looking for some kind of alternative. And maybe you need a more affordable alternative. You know how crazy expensive Christian private school can be. You should look into Freedom Project Academy. They have perfected online learning, offering live, on-demand, and homeschool courses for students kindergarten through 12th grade. It was built on Christian values and classical curriculum. Students read full books, write in cursive, study the full scope of history, and graduate with knowledge years above their public school peers. Right now, you can save 10% on tuition when you enroll at freedomforschool.com. That's freedom, F-O-R, school.com. You can request a free information packet, no obligation. You'll learn all about Freedom Project Academy at freedomforschool.com. And you said that you loved him and knew that you would forgive him. Not everyone would have that feeling. There would be some people who at that moment would say, nope, that's the end of that. Whether he sent messages or whether he actually did something or not, what made you know that, yeah, we're going to get past this at some point?
I don't know. Even before I knew anything, I just knew that Sam loved me, that we had a good, like a real deep love. There wasn't anything surface level about it. When things were good, it was really, really good. And I mean, emotionally, like the connection that we had, I knew deep down he loved the Lord. And at that moment, when it was just Ashley Madison, as angry as I was, and I still was ready to just have his back, be a united front, be a team, and just say, like, obviously this is something we're gonna have to discuss and figure out. Like, now I know he has curiosities that I was unaware of, I guess. Yeah, I just knew that we would make it through that.
Okay, that was while y'all were still at the airport to go to Seattle. Y'all hadn't even gotten to your destination yet. Mm-hmm. So the plane ride, I think you said in the documentary, you were mad. You didn't really want to talk about it, but by the time you landed, you had decided, okay, we're going to figure this out. And you kind of felt like, I thought this was interesting and a very insightful part of it when you said that you felt like, wow, I am an awesome wife because I am going to forgive him and I'm going to get past this and we're going to just keep doing what we do. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, that is how I felt. And I had recently, within the last year or two, read a book, A Woman After God's Own Heart. You might be familiar with it. And I had learned so much about being a godly wife through that book, and just the practices that you practice on a day-to-day basis, you know, forgiving the little things, putting your family first, God, husband, and children. A lot of people have that backwards, that it's God, children, or maybe God's not even on their list, but even Christians, I think, have God, children, then husband. And I had just been practicing and really diving into this, even like with my girlfriends and stuff. So I just kind of felt like he describes it as, when he met me, that it was like game day, because he was like a flirter and he was just gonna like win me over. And that's kind of how I look at this. It's like game day. This is what I've been learning about. How could I be pouring so much energy and heart into learning something and then just not even practice it, or at least try?
And then by the time you got to this conference, I think I remember y'all saying that it felt like people were looking at y'all funny. Like, it's like the news had started to spread at this point, right?
Yeah, we were sitting in a what do you call it, like a class, a conference room full of other YouTube creators that we hadn't met in person. A couple of them we had, but you know, people that like I was looking forward to networking with, getting to know them. They're kind of like, you know, internet friends only at this point. And you can just kind of see like people slowly starting to like look our direction. Yeah, like the phones were starting to blow up, the news was starting to break, and you could just kind of tell people were like, I mean, it was obvious to me.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't, we were still
maybe
paranoid.
we were just so nervous, but it felt pretty obvious.
Okay, so it became headline news, and I think what made it even juicier for a lot of people is that you guys are public Christians. Did you feel like some of these media outlets and, I don't know, maybe competitors felt like, yes, we got them? See, they're just hypocrites. They act like they're Christians, but behind closed doors, they're totally different people. Like, did you feel that from some of the people reporting on the story?
Maybe not in those terms, but I like how you put it, though. But definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, immediately it's like, oh, great, here we go. I'm falling into the category of what the world would call a hypocritical Christian. And that's pretty devastating, especially since I saw this as my ministry to reflect Jesus.
Right. Okay, tell me what happened after that, because it wasn't just Ashley Madison. So how did things evolve from there?
You want to go?
Sure. Okay, so the Ashley Madison thing came out. We made a video. I announced to our audience, you know, basically all the lies I told Nia. I repeated all the same lies to our audience. And that's when the convictions started to really just like eat away at me, weigh on me big time, real heavily. And then my brother sends out a tweet after I post the video and says, "Why are you still lying, bro?"
Or a text, not a tweet.
Oh, a text, yeah.
And why did he say that?
I think he said it because I lied to our audience and said Nia had already known about the account.
Oh.
And he was referring to that. Why are you still lying? Like, Nia didn't know about the account. And so there was that. I was telling... Other lies were kind of starting to come up in this car ride that Nia and I were taking back to our Airbnb from the conference the next day.
So you made that video while you were still at the conference, basically telling everyone, yeah, this happened a while ago, but I never cheated on her. It was just the accounts. It was just conversations, and she already knew about it. Your brother texted you. So this is all happening in a matter of like a couple days.
Right.
So y'all are driving back to the Airbnb in Seattle, and you just felt... What did you feel? Pressure, conviction? Why did you feel like you had to keep going with your confession? Yeah,
so I'm still lying to Nia after all these years. I'm like, I never intended to still be lying about this stupid account and my other things. After so many years, I thought it would be in my past and we'd be done with it. I was living for the Lord. I had a close relationship with him, and I'm still lying to my wife, and it's eating away at me. So we pull over the car. I call my pastor, and I'm telling him, I'm saying, bro, can I just tell you more that went on behind Nia's back, and it'd be okay for me just to tell you?
Is this the same guy who discipled you originally, who asked you to go get coffee, or was this someone else?
Yeah, someone else, the actual pastor.
The pastor who had prayed over you when you walked down the aisle? Or is this different?
Different pastor.
Different pastor. Okay, nothing
But they all
wrong
go to the
with
same
nothing,
church.
nothing
Same
wrong
elder
with
team.
that. I mean, yeah, God.
All three of those guys
Yes,
play
God
huge
used
role.
all of them.
Yep.
So I was
Yeah.
just curious if he was the same guy as
He's
either
the
of
guy
those.
in the
Okay.
documentary, Pastor
Okay.
Bo. I don't know
Right.
if you saw that.
Okay. So you called him, you just felt this pressure, which I think was the Holy Spirit just convicting you, telling you,
Yeah.
you got to do it, you got to do it. And you were hoping that the pastor would tell you, oh no, you don't have to tell her.
Yeah, that's
Right?
stupid.
Well, I mean, that's what sin does. Sin does make us stupid. Sin makes people stupid.
Absolutely, definitely.
And so you
It's
were
so
thinking
true.
that you would be able to keep it a secret.
Yeah,
And you were almost like hoping for his blessing.
Yes, but he did not stray away from just getting straight to the truth. He was just like, brother, live in truth. And when he said live in truth, which is the title of our book, that was probably the most impactful 3 lines of my life. It was just like, wow. It's like God just gave me this foretaste of freedom from my secrets, and it like tasted amazing. And he was like, all you have to do is tell Nia everything if you want the full portion of it. And I had felt God was just leading me to this point all my life. Like nobody had ever told me to live in truth. I didn't even know that was a possibility. And what? You're so cute. Look at me like
I
that.
just like to hear. I like hearing it.
So I get back and I was like, okay, yeah, I guess for the first time in my life, I feel like this is not only possible to do, but necessary. So like, it was a huge, huge moment for me. And so I get in the car and I just basically take off these shackles that had been binding me, or my snare as I describe it, and pulling off these ropes that have been snaring me. And as I'm pulling them off, they're all landing on Nia and snaring her. And it was just one of the most profoundly unfair moments of my life, and most painful yet freeing, very whatever, complicated.
And you mean unfair because now the wife that you love is having to deal with the consequences of your sin.
Right. And because I'm living in freedom and I'm like feeling amazing. I'm like literally ball and chains are coming off my ankles, and my wife is over there getting imprisoned at the
Right.
same time. It was just a very unfair situation.
And so you had, I don't know if there was specifics in the documentary, and we don't have to get any more specific than you guys are comfortable with, but there were just multiple affairs towards the beginning of the marriage.
Yeah, multiple emotional affairs, just different things I'd done behind her back, flirtatious relationships. Yeah.
And you mentioned that there was someone that you were close to that she basically cut herself like out of your life because you had pursued her romantically.
Yeah. I mean, there were multiple reasons why our paths were no longer walking so close together, but I can remember when she moved away, and it was multiple reasons, but I can remember when the conversation was first brought up. I just look back on that time of her making these decisions and stuff like that, and kind of knowing what was going on under the surface, and we had a great conversation, and I share a lot about it in the book, but we had a great conversation after he confessed everything to me. And I asked her why she never told me. We were really, really close, and she didn't reciprocate his feelings. So it seems kind of like obvious, like just warn me or something. And she said, I just thought I was the only one. You guys were still really newlyweds, and I thought I was just the only one. I would just get out of the picture and it would all go away and he would go back to normal.
Wow.
And so, that wasn't the case, but
So y'all have been able to reconnect, because I was wondering about that.
we had closure. I wouldn't say there's been a reconnection
Right.
much, but closure,
Yeah.
and still a lot of love in that
Yeah.
relationship.
So it was emotional cheating. It wasn't physical.
There was some physical stuff too, yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't care to go into more
Right.
detail about it. I mean, it's in
That's fine.
our book, and it's in the documentary. Like everybody
Yeah.
knows, there's multiple things.
Yeah. That's fine. And you're obviously feeling shocked and betrayed, as anyone would. At this point, did you still feel like it was game day, or were you like, nope, this is too much?
Yeah, no more game day. I was done. I was like, this is it. I'm not gonna stay married to you. I really couldn't see away from my own self, because he was making a lot of big promises, like, as long as it takes, I'll be here. I'll wait. As long as it takes for you to forgive me. And I'm like, it's not even just about forgiveness, but like, I don't think I could ever get over the things you're telling me. Like, I'll never be happy or look at you the same way, or, you know, my life, like just my life, our children, our home, like it all was tainted in that moment. And it took a long time for me to see things any other way. It was all tainted for so long.
Mm-hmm. After that car ride, what happened? What did it look like when you left and went home?
We didn't go home right away. We were still in the Airbnb for one more night, and it was rough. I told him I was not going to stay married to him. We still had to travel home together, so we actually missed our flight the next day and had to get an overnight flight, and we made it home. It was our daughter's first day of school, so we got home, and immediately, it was like 5 a.m, we got home and got her ready. Our moms were both there helping, and, you know, just to be there as well. Took her to school, and I told him, like, just get, like, the way this goes is going to be our life forever. You know, I'll take a picture of you with her. You can take a picture of me with her. We're not taking a family photo. You can stand over there. I'll stand over here with my friend. Like, this is just what it will be like if we're going to have any interactions. And our pastors, who were also our friends, our pastor's wife specifically convinced me to come to a marriage counseling session that day after we dropped our daughter off at school. And I agreed to do that, really because I just wanted to, like, unload everything he confessed. I really wanted to embarrass him, I guess, and I wanted to hear them come down hard on him. And they did, and it was a really rough first session. A lot of things were said on my part too. A lot of things were said, but anyway, that went on for a while, just showing up to marriage counseling just to kind of hope that I could hear people come down hard on him. But eventually it started to soften my heart. And it's a really long answer. I could keep talking. I just, started searching the Bible. What does the Bible say about divorce? What does it say about adultery? What does it say about remarriage? I mean, there were just so many things to consider as a Christian if I wanted to make the right decision for my relationship with God. And even his, we were so young. Like, we probably both would have gotten remarried. What about the future of our children and their step parents and each other? It was so much, but I dove in and I researched it all.
Next sponsor is America's Christian Credit Union. This is the #1 banking institution on Public Square because it's provided a full suite of financial services to God-fearing Americans just like you for more than 65 years. This is a bank that you can trust. We're hearing about debanking, these major banks cutting ties with their customers simply because they have views and associations that they don't like. You don't have to worry about that with ACCU. Families, ministries, businesses across the country have ditched those big banks and chosen ACCU as their trusted financial partner. You get cutting edge mobile banking, great rates, more than 35,000 branches and ATMs nationwide. Why would you keep doing business with financial institutions that hate you, who have interests that don't align with your own? Find America's Christian Credit Union online at americaschristiancu.com/switch. America's Christian Credit Union is federally insured by the National Credit Union Administration. Obviously, you felt betrayed.
Yeah.
But did you feel equally as betrayed by the secrecy and the prolonged lying as you did the actual cheating? Like, did the lying bother you just as much?
Yes, for sure. It definitely did. I mean, it was the length of time in between. Even though he had been living for the Lord, there, like I said, there was just this view of my life that was tainted, even, like, because of the lies. Like, I wasn't really living in reality. I felt very tricked and very just in the dark. I came to find out the people in our life who knew that he had been unfaithful and never told me. And it was a lot of betrayal when you put it in that perspective. There's people who were kind of protecting him and were thinking they were protecting me, and they weren't.
Yeah.
It's a lot to consider.
Yeah. Gosh, sin just involves so many people. And when you're first tempted to sin, Satan convinces you it's just you. You're never going to hurt anyone. It's only going to affect you. And then you're describing all these people, friends, family, kids, community, church. Like, sin is just so pervasive in that way. And of course, Satan loves to destroy marriages. And there are plenty of people who would have gotten a divorce and they would have said, you know what, this is unfaithfulness and I'm completely justified. So tell me your thinking. What did you learn in those counseling sessions that eventually softened your heart?
Well, for starters, I saw true repentance on Sam's part. I mean, he was truly repentant, you know, and I had known him for over 10 years at this point. I could see the difference. And I mean, he was just not budging. He was bending over. I mean, as maybe some people would say, well, he should have. But I mean, he was a different man. I was seeing a different side of him, committed to me and our family, just truly living for the Lord. And everything that he was doing, even though I wanted to be separate from him, he was reading the Bible to our children in front of me. And even though I wanted him to leave, like he would do that first and then he would leave, you know, at night and go stay somewhere else. But really, I think what started to change my heart towards him was just listening to the Holy Spirit and being aware of like what I had been learning before his confessions. I just knew without a shadow of a doubt that the Holy Spirit had laid on my heart that we would be in marriage ministry one day before he ever confessed anything. And I had forgotten about that with his confessions and all of that. But through all the praying I was doing, just asking him to show me, what do you want me to do? What is the right thing here? He's so repentant. We had a family. I really loved him. I wasn't cheating. He was. And, you know, he had not done it in so long and he was so repentant. Like, did I really want to start over and then risk going through this or something similar with another guy? I mean, all men have their own struggles. It's like, why would I want to put my own self in that position or just work it out with the person I love? But really, long, what is it? Not long story short, but short story long. I just really had to learn what forgiveness really was and what the Bible said about marriage and how marriage is such a picture of the gospel. It's just not as black and white as I always thought. Oh, a man cheats, you're justified to divorce. It's really not that black and white if you get down and really get into the scriptures. And I wasn't willing to take a risk at living in sin the rest of my life, or the father of my children living in sin the rest of his life, when we could go forward and heal.
Are you willing to talk about that a little bit more? Because you're right. A lot of people do think it's black and white and it's almost like, oh, well, this is easy. I can just get out of it. But you're right. It's not as simple as Jesus saying, yeah, definitely get a divorce if this happens. That's not really what the scripture says. So could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, one scripture says outright, God hates divorce. And I was strongly considering something that the God I worship and serve and I wanted to follow what was right for my life. That's what I wanted. I didn't even care about him at this point. I wanted to do what was right for me as a Christian. And so I was considering something that God hates while my husband was actually repentant. It's not like he was struggling with, oh, you know, I might not be able to quit, but I want to quit. Like, he was done. That life was over. And I had to consider all of that we could go forward and have a Christian, godly marriage, living in truth, being open and just working with one another not working with, but, you know, supporting each other and being there for each other with the flaws. I mean, my flaws, his flaws, everything laid out on the table, and go forward in honesty and open communication and all of that. But yeah, the scripture just, you know, I really always thought if a man cheats, you can divorce. But then there's the conversation of adultery, and what does that even mean? It's not just cheating on your spouse. Adultery actually can mean two divorced people coming together. I don't know how deep into this you want to go.
How technical. But
yeah, there's a lot to it.
Yeah, I do think some people see it as like a command to divorce if there is unfaithfulness. But some of the most beautiful testimonies that I have heard are of couples who have overcome that, either the husband or the wife being unfaithful to their marriage vows in a variety of ways. And still reconciling through the power of the Holy Spirit. Now, that's not to say there is never any reason whatsoever to divorce. There are biblical reasons to divorce. But, you know, as you explained, divorce affects a lot of people for generations. And so it's a much more serious, much deeper and more profound thing than I think a lot of people realize. So y'all kind of reached this place of reconciliation and redemption. What has that looked like for y'all publicly as vloggers, as people who did a Netflix documentary? What has it been like sharing that story?
I would say it's been a 50-50 response from people. Some people are like cheering us on, so proud. And then the other 50% are people just kind of hating, and they just don't get it. You know, they just
believe once a cheater, always a cheater. And they believe infidelity means automatic divorce, like you guys were talking about. And there's no changing their minds. And there's a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, as far like personally, our family, our community, our church community has been so supportive and proud, and I mean that's all I can like. As long as the people who really know us are seeing the truth and seeing this, you know, how just the way God moved in our relationship together, but individually with Him, is just so beautiful. Like, it seems worth the risk to tell it.
Not just that, we had already been sitting down with other couples. You know, this is already an open story for us before the documentary came out. So for us, it's like God has been preparing our hearts to kind of talk about our testimony, speak out about our testimony long before the documentary came out. And so this just kind of seemed like the next step, the obvious next step for us, since we are living in public, and we've always saw this as our ministry, and this is where God has redeemed our lives the most.
Okay. And y'all have said on Instagram a couple times that you feel like Netflix didn't represent you completely accurately, and you already explained one of those times, like the timing of when you stopped Ashley Madison and like the YouTube channel. But what were some other ways that you felt like Netflix didn't depict this accurately?
Yeah, so that was the biggest one. It made it look like I traded my adulterous thoughts for YouTube, went from one vice to the next. And then they also took a line that I now look back and see that they kind of manipulated me into saying, and I finally agreed to saying it, not knowing what their agenda was. They had me say the line, the validation I was seeking outside my marriage was replaced with the validation in YouTube. I said something along those lines in the documentary. And that was the line they fed me and they had me say. And I regret saying anything that they fed me, but you know, in the moment when you really respect the people behind the camera.
And that's part of their job, to make you feel like y'all are friends. We're on your team.
Big time.
I'm not saying, I don't know, maybe they're all good people, but that's kind of part of what they do.
And they were good at it. We still love him. I mean, I love the director. He's an awesome dude. But it's kind of frustrating to see that I was manipulated in that way. Even though there's some truth to that. I still struggle with seeking validation from other people. But that's not what saved me from, you know, straying. YouTube did not save me from adultery.
Yeah, they definitely did make it seem like that.
Yeah, it's pretty frustrating.
Was there anything else?
I mean, for me, yeah, I think like a lot of people have asked me privately, even friends and family, like have asked me, which friends did he sleep with? And I'm like, well, he didn't sleep with any of my friends. Like, they kind of just made it sound like he was having all of this random sex, and he wasn't. We've agreed not to go into too many details, but there was only one, and it was not a friend of mine, and it was nobody we knew. And like, that's frustrating for me, just to keep having to explain something that we've moved so far beyond, but to like family, even like that, they're just hearing it for the first time, some of them. There was another one. I'm blanking on it now. There was another one that, oh yeah. I felt like they kind of made it seem like it was like Ashley Madison confessions, bam, she forgave him because she's so dumb. You know, like, I don't know. That's just kind of like how the haters are portraying it. But man, it was like years of hard work and intense counseling and long, hard conversations before I reached a point of like freely forgiving him. I mean, I held on to it for so long. I questioned him day after day after day about past and current things. It was a really, gruesome journey to actually having a freedom from the forgiveness that I was wanting to have. Does that make sense? Like I knew like you can say, I forgive him. I'm going to forgive him. But to actually walk that out took a lot of hard work. And the documentary made it look like I was just like, okay, we'll stay together, you know, and it wasn't like that.
Last sponsor for the day is my Patriot Supply. Okay, when it comes to emergency food supply, it's just better to be safe than sorry. With all of the crazy unknowns in an election year, all this talk about supply chains, our food supply, bird flu, it's really scary. We just don't know how that's going to affect our ability to get the food that we need. Go ahead, get your emergency food supply kits from my Patriot Supply. These 2,000 calorie a day meals are good for up to 30 years in your storage. So hopefully you'll never need them, but they will be there if you do. Get one kit for every member of your family. One kit for every member of your family. Also, they've also got something called the Grid Doctor 300 available right now. This is a solar powered generator that lasts longer and runs stronger than others. So you are going to be totally taken care of and prepared with my Patriot Supply. Go to preparewithallie.com for $50 off that Grid Doctor. That's preparewithallie.com. I was pleased that they did allow y'all to incorporate your faith, and that at the end, I do think that they showed that there was reconciliation and redemption. You're right. Maybe they like kept it superficial, but I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised at the end how they depicted y'all, and I was glad for that. Of course, there's going to be people with anti-Christian bias who want to believe that you are just being oppressed, that you don't have your own autonomy and you can't make your own decisions, and those people also don't believe in redemption because they don't know the gospel. Have you all gotten negativity from Christians?
A little bit. There have been some that are, I mean, like you mentioned, a lot of your followers probably aren't even on Netflix. There was some of that. I can't believe you guys are back on, like you said, you were done with Netflix, you know, like we got some of that. And, you know, some people questioning why we would even be a part of something that was overall like dark and all about cheating. It's like what, like we kind of look at it like
stuff. There was some weird stuff in there, which I don't blame y'all for.
Well, we didn't have a clue.
No, and y'all weren't a part of it. But I also was not expecting some of the stuff that I saw.
I mean, we're called to be the light in the darkness. It's a dark place. It's like we can't completely stray away from, you know, speaking our testimony just because it's a dark place. So it's not a documentary I suggest to Christians. Like at church, I don't say, go see this documentary. I just don't. I said, in fact, I wouldn't see it. Yeah. Like this is what God called us to.
You can watch this interview instead.
Yeah, exactly. We'll send them here.
Yeah, for sure.
What else would you want to say? Maybe what would you say to a couple who finds themselves in a similar situation where one side is like, I just don't know that I can forgive even though he or she is repentant and wants to move on?
To that, I would say you can. And there's more than one path when someone betrays you, that it's not, you know, divorce is not the only option. And ending your marriage, separating your family is not the only option. And I know there's cases where that is the only option or that's the right option. But I do believe that there are people out there who have repentant spouses that want to stay married. And maybe they feel pressured by the world, society, their friends, their whoever, coworkers. And it's just not the only option. And I just want people to know it's possible. It is possible to work through all of that hurt and all of that together and make it to the other side and have real, true joy and intimacy and fun together again.
And what would you say, Sam, to someone who has secret sin and they're battling with the conviction to live in truth, but they really don't want to because they're afraid of what they're going to lose?
I would say make sure you're grounded in the Word of God, first of all. Don't do it alone. Like, you can't get out of pornography or the lie of women alone. You just can't. Men try. We can't do it in our own will. We need the Lord. And we need other men of God to do that with us. And I would encourage them. I feel like God created men with this really strong innate desire for adventure. And I feel like we mistake that for other women, and we chase after women because we think that's the adventure life has. But I think they're missing out on like what God has truly called them for, which is such a deeper, more beautiful, more fun adventure, than women could ever offer us. Like as I go deeper and deeper with the Lord, the adventure He calls me to is just, it's unmatched. And so I would first say, find another man who can support you through this, because you can't do it alone. Submit to God and His word completely, and go for it.
Go for it. Take the leap.
Yeah, take the leap.
I think too, like if I could talk to those guys or girls who are having secret sin, your spouse is a lot stronger than you think they are. One of his things, he said he thought it would crush me and destroy me. And I think, and he has said this before, that he was surprised by how strong I actually was. And I don't know why we fear that, if it's like our own, like we're projecting how scared we are, or if the liar, whoever's got the secret sin, is projecting the fear. But your spouse is a lot stronger than you think, and they can handle it. Yeah, I'm sure it is painful.
It's always painful every time I have to make a confession to Nia. And I think of a verse in Proverbs. What is it? Dang it.
Which one are you trying to get?
Blows that hurt cleanse away evil. And something like that. Blows that hurt cleanse away evil, as do the innermost parts. But anyway, every time I make confession to Nia, it's a blow that hurts and it cleanses away evil. I think the most manliest thing a man can do is to confess their sin to the person that hurt the most, because it is by far the most painful thing I think a man could possibly do, to humble themselves that low. And it truly does cleanse away evil, because you literally get to look right in the face what your sin is doing. And it's like, it will knock you out and be like, whoa, yeah, my sin is serious. It's ugly and not worth it in the slightest.
Yeah. I mean, you really are, like, when you do that, you're getting to like the heart of what happened in the garden, because like, how did Adam handle accountability? It was the woman you gave me. How did the woman handle accountability? It was the snake. And then, I mean, finally, God makes them bear the responsibility, and we're still bearing those consequences to this day. And so everyone, to one degree or another, struggles with that. But like, I always think about this quote by C.S. Lewis. This is a paraphrase because I can't remember the exact words, but it's like, worry is picturing the future without God's grace in it, because God's grace is always in the present moment. And so when we think about, oh my gosh, when I confess this, or when I do that scary thing, you picture the world falling apart. Well, you're picturing that moment without God's grace meeting you, and it will. And the transformative, strengthening power of that just can't even be, properly understood.
It's true.
And I think that, y'all's testimony is a real testament to that. I want to hear more about your book, just where people can find it, how they can read it. I love the cover. It's so pretty. Live in Truth by Sam and Nia. I'm guessing it's wherever books are sold.
Amazon. It's our memoir, the past 10 years of our life, which has been insane journey to live it and then to write it. But it's our journey of God bringing me to a life of living in truth.
Me to a life of, also living in truth in a different way, but just, in forgiveness, and just being understanding and loving. This, you said the cover, this is from our vow renewal. And there's a lot in our story that God has redeemed, like just so beautifully. And I love that we get to share it with so many people and just say like, hey, you don't have to hang on to the dark parts of your life. God wants to flood it with His light, and He will, if we just keep our eyes open for it. He will flood the darkness in your life with light, even the parts that are already gone. And you'd think, you look back and you can look at it and it's maybe got a dark shadow on it. He will still infiltrate that and show you where He was in that moment.
And all the other amazing things that happen when we let go of sin. Like, we don't realize it, but sin is really keeping us from an amazing, incredible calling.
Yes, and amen. Well, thank y'all so much. Thank you for taking the time to share your story. I encourage people to go out and get your book. We can put the link in the description so people can click on it easily. Thank y'all so much.
Yeah, thank you.